How many Mario Wonder features can we make in Mario Maker 2? Today, we'll recreate new power-ups, enemies, badges, and wonder effects to see how close we can get. The drill from the Mario Galaxy series is now 100 times better as a Mario Wonder power-up. To recreate it and allow Mario to destroy enemies that ambush from above, we can slap a spiked shellmet on his head. Now even munchers can't crack his thick skull. To drill down, Mario can devour a propeller mushroom. When he flies and presses down for a ground pound, he shreds through blocks to reach that sweet, sweet gold. Those two mechanics were easy, but recreating the burrowing mechanic is much tougher. For this one, we create a little space below the ground that Mario can drill into. An alternative way to do this is to have falling bullet blasters push Mario underneath. Now, he can move below the enemies and pop up by drilling through blocks with his spiked shellmet. The ceiling setup is very similar. Mario just needs a space to drill up into and can emerge when ready. The Melon Piranha Plant is a wacky enemy that takes inspiration from Yoshi's Island. I used a piranha plant as the piranha plant. I know, I'm a genius. But for us to replicate the melon seeds that spit upward, we use off-screen cannons underneath. If set up, they fire up in a row. Mario can jump on top and bounce off these projectiles just like in Mario Wonder. The crouching high jump badge made me feel dumb. Let me explain. I worked so hard on this design where Mushroom Toadette ducks down to stay crouched as a slow conveyor belt moves her under a big spike cube. A twister below the semi-solid pushes her up to match the animation Daisy gets here, and she gains extra height on her jump. Pretty cool, right? Well, then my friend Massey reminded me that the crouch jump with the Super Mario Bros. 2 mushroom exists, and it works exactly the same as Mario Wonder. Oops. So far, you've only seen a few of so many awesome features. Watch to the end to see how I made way harder ones like the grappling hook and the bubble power-up. Mumsy's creative design allows us to defeat enemies by pulling their wrapping. To make this idea, I decided to use a pokey as it has several segments to it. I used this setup with a blue lift on a curved track and placed a twister on top. This makes it so that the enemy gets stuck up above, but still is touching the ground. Then, to make it feel like the pokey's unraveling, I added a track to look like the cloth. Mario launches fireballs to burn the pokey one orb at a time until it vanishes. The Space Wonder effect looks so fun to play with the floating enemies and sky swimming movement. We can use the ground night theme here to make Goombas float around in the air. The balloon power-up in the Super Mario World style gives Mario free-flying movement, while the woozy sound effect matches the Wonder Glow on the edges of the frame. Then, I placed some bumpers on tracks to act like the floating hippos. The grappling hook might be the coolest new thing in the entire game. I mean, just look at Spider Toad living his best life. For this one, I tried all sorts of complicated claw contraptions with on-off triggers until I figured out something way better and easier. In the 3D World style, we can use the Cat Bell power-up to let Mario climb walls and the Bullet Bill mask to soar toward them. He has to be careful to stop flying right before getting to the wall, or he will lose the mask. It works super well and is very fun to play. We've seen enemies that launch at Mario before, but Con Darts have a special ability. They swoop at Mario, can break blocks, and get stuck. The way I made this is with thwomps and one-way walls. The thwomps have to be big here to be able to break through more than one row of blocks at a time. We can use both horizontal and vertical thwomps. All we have to do is make sure that the one-way wall points the correct direction to keep them stuck. Mario can grab a star to beat our fake Con Darts. Ma-Mas are hungrier than Mario in a room full of coins. They open their mouths wide and can eat the player. Our version uses a giant winged Porcupuffer in the 3D World style. If we pick a course theme without water and make the ground 2 tiles high, it sets up the Porcupuffer to act like a Ma-Ma. The Porcupuffer can poke Mario, but he also jumps up with an open mouth to eat the cherry-flavored plumber. The Dolphin Kick badge has the potential to actually make water levels fun. You gain faster movement and can break through blocks. Our version uses the frog suit from the Super Mario Bros. 3 style for flowing movement and a spiked shellmet to break through blocks. Then, I added Bill Blasters and Lakitu Clouds to work as those speed boosts. The Elephant power-up can activate so many awesome abilities, it was almost impossible to replicate them all. I was almost able to get every ability into one power-up setup, except for the Trunk Swing. For the best way to recreate the Trunk Swing to attack enemies, Mario can use the Raccoon suit from the Super Mario Bros. 3 style. Now, for the rest of the features. To make Mario feel big like an elephant, the Mega Mushroom in the Super Mario Bros. Style is perfect. He can also use that Mega Mushroom to break through blocks. To attack enemies in this form, Mega Mario can jump into a Goomba stiletto shoe and ground pound. When he does, he creates gusts of deadly air that smells so bad that enemies just decide to die. He can also run over bigger gaps than normal while he's in any large Goomba shoe. The water part was the trickiest, as we've never seen anything like it in a 2D Mario game. The closest thing I could come up with uses the forest course theme. I created a water area and placed the flash sound effect as the indicator that he had picked up the water in his trunk. Then I placed the boo sound effect, which makes a water effect on screen to show that he's spitting the water out. I also created an off-screen thwomp with POW contraption. This caused a coin that I placed to drop on a note block, which grew a vine upward like in this clip. Whew, that one took a lot of thinking to figure out. These next two, though, were ridiculously easy to remake. To create the Balloon Mario Wonder effect, I gave him the power balloon from the Super Mario World style. Then I added the woozy sound effect. To make Goomba Mario Wonder effect, give Mario a Goomba mask from the 3D World style with the woozy sound effect. I have no idea what these next guys are called, so we'll just name them the Hanging Danglers. They hang on the ceiling and launch spike balls, but Mario can grab their vine handle and pull it down to defeat them. We can place a claw under a downward shooting canyon and add a track and vine for looks to make this one. An off-screen thwomp crashes down into an on-off switch, but only when Mario jumps up into the claw. We can do that with this setup high enough above the claw. The switch triggering destroys the cannon and makes the claw only usable once. Also, when Mario touches the claw, the thwomp rushes down and looks hilarious. The invisible badge allows us to live out our favorite superpower fantasy. Mario becomes invisible and enemies don't notice him. To match, we use the Goomba mask in the 3D World game style so enemies won't attack. Then we use custom auto scroll that keeps the screen as high up as possible with the scroll stop top and make a little pathway underneath for Mario to run under. Then we start the level and see what enemies do when they think no one's watching. If you're like me and want Mario Wonder features in Mario Maker 3, help this channel past Nintendo of Italy in subscribers. Subscribing is free and it could help me get hired by Nintendo. This next enemy makes me unreasonably excited about goo. Conks can crash down, but also have the unique ability to destroy liquid that slows the player down. To make this one, I started with the Castle Knight theme so movement is slow and goo-like. Then I placed blue dotted line blocks everywhere to mimic the look of the slime and added a big thwomp as the conch. To make it look like the conch smashes the goo, I placed ice blocks underneath the big thwomp. As a finishing touch, I put a conveyor belt under the ice blocks to make Mario move faster as if we cleared the goo out of that area. The wall climb jump badge looks like a useful way to get more vertical control while climbing. Our version uses fast conveyor belts stacked up with a bridge on the second to top layer. Give Mario the acorn suit and he can cling onto the wall until he's able to get to the top. With the parachute cap badge, we can fall with style. For this one, just tickle Mario with the cape feather and he can slow fall to his heart's content. If you want to prevent him from flying, make sure not to give him enough space to gain too much speed. Hoppy Cats have pretty underwhelming mechanics. We already have an enemy that has spikes and jumps when the player does. So, I took a skip squeak, I changed it to a spiny skip squeak, and that's it. Yay. Badges like the safety bounce allow newer players to have more fun by letting them jump out of the lava. For our recreation, I used red 2-state blocks underneath the lava. Then I added trampolines barely peeking above the waves so Mario can jump on them and survive. The tricky part though was to have only one bounce before the molten cherry juice hurts Mario. I used a horizontal thwomp that triggers an on-off switch. When Mario bounces on the trampolines once, all the trampolines sink to the bottom and the sludge gets spicy again. For the Rainbow Bubble Wonder effect, I started with a vertical subworld. Then I used bumpers moving up on tracks. To add to the scene, I moved the tracks so that I could place spike enemies throwing spike balls. And, you guessed it, I topped it all off with the woozy sound effect. I love secrets, and the sensor badge lets players know when they're close to one. To remake this, I placed the boo sound effect for water animations, then made them more frequent as Mario gets closer. I added a light bulb sound effect next to the secret. Once Mario finds a spot, he can throw boxes out of the way to uncover secret lunch. Fire spikes are a variation of a classic enemy that I didn't know I needed. They can throw fiery balls instead of pointy balls. I actually came up with a pretty complicated solution for this one, so stick with me. Mario Maker 2 has a hidden rule in place that if there are too many things loaded in a level, new things won't show up. We call it an entity limit. Without going too much in depth about how it works, I will tell you how you can use it in this case. I placed 99 one-way walls off-screen from Mario and a spike, but because the limit was reached, Spike can't throw any spike balls. Then, I deleted 2 of the one-way walls to make space for a Bowser on a Muncher behind Spike. When playing the level, it looks like Spike is throwing fire spheres. The bubble power-up stumped me for the longest time. My friend Massey and I worked on so many different ideas for how it could work, and this is the closest we could think of. To blow bubbles and defeat enemies from a distance, Mario can use a fire flower. But that's not a big deal, right? Jumping off of them like platforms took way more out of the bubble thinking. We came up with a design where a muncher sits on top of a flying enemy. Instead of a regular fire flower, we use the Super Ball flower. When the enemy dies, the muncher falls down and explodes a bob-omb to trigger an on-off switch. That switch does two things. It creates a platform for the trampoline where the enemy was, and it drops a trampoline down from the sky. Now Mario can jump off the trampoline like it's a bubble. Also, I put a coin behind the enemy so Mario can gobble it up as if the enemy turned into a coin. There are way more features from Mario Wonder that we can recreate. To see how I remade the Mario Wonder trailer frame by frame, click on the video on screen right now. A huge thank you to Massey for helping with more than half the ideas in this video, and thank you to JH Sonby and other amazing members of our community who commented on my community post. I'm Arrowstotle, and thanks for watching.